All right, thank you so much. So we'll go ahead and get started. For those of you who are watching on the recording, welcome. My name is Anna. I'm one of two members of the Tutor.com team who supports the Hawaii statewide program. The other is Ms. Kemi Lum, and she'll be hosting additional versions of these as well. But we are so excited to get to bring this tool to your students this school year. So jumping right in, first we're going to go over some introductions, both of ourselves, which we've done, and of the program as well, so you can get a little familiarity with that, and then outlining the goals that we have for your students. We really want to boost their confidence in the classroom this year. We're going to outline exactly how we can help you do that so that you can support your students best at home as well. Then we're going to jump into their student account features and all of the great tools that they'll be able to access through Clever, and then their outcomes and achievement. So we really pride ourselves on having data to support the way that we are working with your students, and we'll highlight that a little bit as well. Then we're going to talk about engaging your learners. This is a great tool that your teachers are going to be talking about with them as well, but you can certainly follow it up by sharing this information with them at home. So a little bit about us. Tutor.com was founded back in 1998, and the Princeton Review was founded back in the 1970s. Since then, we have served over 27 million virtual tutoring sessions, and then we partnered with the Princeton Review in 2014 to also get to bring your students the test prep tools from the Princeton Review as well. So any of you with secondary students, your kids have access to those. We partner with school districts and statewide programs such as the Hawaii Department of Education, but we also work with universities, the military, and public library systems as well. So there are many channels through which Tutor.com is available to students both in the United States and abroad, and we are so excited to get to share those resources with you so that they can benefit as well. And so our goals are really to provide your student with individualized and on-demand homework help on a 24/7 basis. So we have over 4,000 tutors who are available to work with your students on their work, and we want them to feel confident about everything that they're being assigned in the classroom, so they're not having to be up late at night stressed over that work. Or if you're the parent of a younger student, maybe you're getting information in a progress report that your child needs to work on phonics at home, and maybe you don't know what that all entails. To really be able to support your student in that way, Tutor.com tutors can help support you and show you with your student how they can practice those drills. We also really want to help them grow their confidence in the classroom so they feel good about raising their hand and good about showing up to class, and they're not feeling stuck because maybe they didn't understand their homework the night before. So how do we do that? The number one question that we get, so all of our tutors are real people, they are not AI. And so the number one questions that we get around that is safety. Who are these people that are working with my students? And that is incredibly important to us. So the vast majority of our tutors are current and retired teachers, college professors, engineers, and professionals in their field who, just like your students' teachers, really want to see your students succeed. I was a tutor for a long time, not with Tutor.com, but it's what brought me here, is to be able to get to share tools like this with students more broadly who otherwise might not know how to access them. We also have a very comprehensive background check process. So every single tutor is going through comprehensive subject matter exams and a very long security check process, ranging from everything from many of our tutors being fingerprinted through the Department of Justice process, social security number traces, education verification, and all of those other checks that are being run on a monthly basis as well. And then all of the interactions between your student and the tutor are anonymous. So all they're going to know about each other is first name and the subject that they're working on. They are not going to know that your student is coming from a specific school or even the state of Hawaii. They could be any student anywhere in the globe because of our partnership with the military as well. So we really want to make sure that they have a safe environment that they can learn in. We also have a very comprehensive quality control process. So every single session is recorded so that students can go back and read through their work and see, maybe they had a light bulb moment when they were going through their math homework and they want to be able to figure out what made them remember how to do it well, so they can look back at that. But we also use those recordings to make sure, A, that we're giving your students correct information to go by and following the material that they're being taught in the classroom, and also making sure that they're going to follow the Socratic teaching theory. And what that means is we really want to build your students' confidence, and we're not going to give them the answers. This is not a answering service, so So if your kids are coming in every now and then and they're saying, hey, can you do my homework for me? Or I don't want to do this, our tutors are going to say no, or you're going to do this work so that you know how to do it in the classroom or on the next quiz or test, and help guide them in the learning process rather than giving them answers. We also take student security very seriously. So you can see some of our data verifications there and statewide approvals for our privacy practices. It's boring stuff, but it's very important. So you can look at those if you'd like. And then jumping right into your students' account features and all the wonderful tools that they will have access to. So all students in Hawaii will access Tutor.com through Clever. If you are not familiar with how your student can access Clever, we do have information available that I'm sure Charles can share either in this call or in a follow-up to this. So they'll be able to log in, and then once they log in through Clever and click Tutor.com, that access is available to them at no cost. The state is paying for it, but it's no cost to you, your family, or the campuses themselves. So they are able to come in here on a 24/7 basis for as often as they would like. They can come in for 5-minute homework checks, or they can work with a tutor for 30, 45 minutes, an hour on a longer homework assignment. It's up to them. And once they log in, they're going to be brought to this page. We sync up with the district's data system called Infinite Campus. If you're familiar, probably not, but that's okay. But it makes it so that your students aren't going to need an additional username or password when they log in. We want to make sure it's really easy for them. As a parent, if you do have access to Clever, you are not going to see the Tutor.com app there. You would have to be logged through your student's account if you're following along with us. So once they click in, they'll be greeted with their name, and they have a few options. They can connect with a tutor on demand. They can schedule sessions with our tutors. We find that a lot of students will select a favorite tutor, maybe someone who explains it in a new way. It really makes it click for them or goes at a pace that fits their learning style. So they can set up additional sessions with them in the future. They can drop off papers for essay review where they don't have to sit with the tutor live during a session, but they can leave that work with a tutor. Maybe they're involved in sports, taking care of siblings, or just have a long drive home. And then within 12 hours, but an average of about 6, they'll get back their work with comments on the essay itself, and then feedback in a rubric too, telling them if they are headed in the right direction for the assignment their teacher has given them. Then we also have a few other tools that they can play with. So the Skills Center has a collection of worksheets and flashcards and other items. There are practice quizzes if they want to get example problems or see how they think that they might do on an upcoming quiz or test. And then those test prep tools if they're taking the SAT or ACT. We do have live tutoring for those as well. So let's say I am a middle school math student coming into work with a tutor. That's one of our top subjects here at Tutor.com for the Hawaii program. So from the topic menu, I would select math, and then from the subject, I would select middle school math. We are so excited to get to share over 250 different subjects with your students. So we break it up into 2 categories so that they can find it more easily. And you'll notice there's 2 ways that they can work with our tutors. There's chat only, which is going to be sort of like typing back and forth in a Zoom chat. And then chat with voice, talking just as we are now. It's not a voice to text. It's going to be a real person talking to them through the online classroom. All of this is within the online classroom. No personal information is exchanged to enable that. And they can go back and change that as well. And then they can put a question down below. This can be something specific from their homework. They can upload a screenshot or copy and paste the question in or type it out. Or they can just say, help, I'm stuck. I missed class today, and hit submit. And then that is going to connect them to a real person who's an expert in the subject matter in less than a minute on average. The average for Hawaii so far this year has been under 30 seconds to connect with a real person. So it's really exciting. And once they come in, they're going to be brought into our online classroom, and I'll show you what this looks like as well. So they have a 2-way whiteboard here, so both they and the tutor can manipulate all of the tools in the online classroom. They'll have the chat there over on the right, as you see, where they can type back and forth with their tutor at their own pace. And then if they have the microphone enabled, they'll have that there. Something super important to note is the Tutor.com classroom does not have a camera. We want to make sure we're protecting your students' visual privacy as well. So if they're up late doing homework, or they're in their PJs, or maybe there's stuff going on in the background, they don't need to worry about that when they're trying to just get help with their homework assignment. So we're camera free for them. There's other tools here as well that they can use. There's a word processor that is going to work very similarly to a Microsoft Word or a Google Docs that they can use, and then a graphing calculator through an app called Desmos. So many of your students might be familiar with that. It's also the calculator that's used on the digital SAT. So if any of your students will be taking that exam, it's a great way to get practice with it. And then they can screen share if they would like as well. Maybe they have their assignment up from their teacher and a few other file upload options as well. They can scan a QR code and take a picture with their phone if they want to upload their scratch work. We've seen a lot of high school students do that to have a tutor check over their homework assignment to make sure that they're getting as many of those points as possible, especially when students are in upper grades. It can be difficult as a parent to sit down with them and help them through calculus. I know I certainly wouldn't be able to do that. After every session as well, we also want to ask the students how they felt about it. As you know, from having your own children themselves, they're very honest about how they're feeling. And so they're honest with us too. So they'll tell us if they thought the tutor did a good job or not, if they're glad that Hawaii offers the program to them, if it's something that helps them with their grades or helps them feel more confident in class. And then they can give us open-ended feedback as well. And just tell us how things are going. From students in Hawaii, we've gotten a lot of, very patient with me. They're so nice. I really like this. And so we'll see a whole host of those there. So your students are always welcome to comment. We see about 30 to 40% of students opt to fill this out, but we always encourage it because it can go back to the tutors too and give them a little bit of encouragement. And then you'll see that they have the option to add tutors to their favorites on this list. And that's how they can build out their network of people who helps make their homework make more sense. And then they can connect with them again in the future. This is our writing review process, and if any of you have students in 6th grade or up, this is my favorite tool to get to use for them because it's really going to help develop their writing abilities. So students will put in the work that they're working on, they'll put in the day that the draft is due in the final. We want to make sure we're giving them enough feedback that they can apply the amount of time, but that's also reflective of their grade level needs. A student in 6th grade is going to need very different feedback than a student in high school. They'll put the topic there. I always have students just copy and paste their thesis statement. There's no reason for them to write it out again. And then they will put where they're at in the writing process. So if they're at the very beginning, the tutor's feedback will look very different than if they're feeling pretty confident about their work. They can put in any instructions from their teacher, and then they'll just upload that there. So when students do this, we always have them take their name off it, again, making sure we're protecting their privacy, but then they'll hit submit, and within 12 hours, they'll get that feedback back from the tutor. What's great about this as well is that tutor is spending 30 to 35 minutes going over each of your students' works to make sure that it is aligning to the assignment the teacher has given them. So it's a really great way for them to get in-depth feedback without having to sit with a live tutor going through that work, and then they can still get that really quality support. And this is what that looks like in practice. So this was a recent essay of a student who was writing a paper about Romeo and Juliet, and they submitted their paper a couple of times, which your students are welcome to do as well. And so you can see that it's an ongoing writing project. So if they have submitted it multiple times, they'll be able to look at their different versions. And then the tutor is going to start out by celebrating them for showing up and what they're doing well, so that they feel encouraged coming in for homework help. It's called Tutor.com, but we call it homework help so that it takes away the stigma from the word tutor, because not every student may feel that they need tutoring, but every student knows that they need help with their homework sometimes. Then the tutor, once they go through that rubric and show them approximately where they're at, there's no numbers on that, so we don't want to make them feel like they're going to get a particular grade, but more giving them a sense of confidence around their work. Then they're going to get those inline comments as well, and it's going to reflect back to the information that they gave the student on the rubric there. We also have the practice quizzes that I mentioned. So if any of your students are interested in joining the military, we have practice quizzes for the ASVAB. There is math fundamentals quizzes for any of you with students in elementary school, and for ELA for them as well. And then also Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 for high school. And we are adding more of these every day. And then for those of you with high school students, we have this SAT and ACT essentials. So this is a test that, many schools are test blind or test optional now, but a lot of scholarships still reside on these scores. So it's really great to encourage your students to take them at least once, and this can help them achieve their dream scores. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with or used the large books back when you were in school. I know I did, where you had to flip back and forth. This is a digitized version of that. So there's 9 practice tests that they have the option to take and can go at their own pace or do different sections at a time. It's going to tell them where they're doing well, what they need to study and what they don't, so that they're only spending time on the material that they really need to. This is completely free within the Hawaii State program. If you were to go on the Princeton Review's website and purchase this for your student today, it would be $500 and they get it completely for free. So I highly encourage any of you with sophomores or juniors to take advantage of this tool that's there for them. So before we jump into student outcomes, I know that was a lot of information. So I want to pause, look through the chat, see what questions I can answer for you, or if any of you would like to unmute and ask a question as well, that's fine.
Hi, this is Judy Goldman. I tried to go on the login page and I got there for the Hawaii Department of Education. It's asking for a password. How does a student get a password?
So did you go on the Tutor.com website or did you go on the Clever website?
I went through.
Put it in the chat, Anna.
Okay.
So I went through the website that the gentleman who just spoke about, posted in the chat.
So this is, I guess, for everyone on the call. So Tutor.com is available for all middle schools. If you're at a middle school, you have access. It is optional for high schools and elementary schools to opt into the program. So it may not be available to everyone on this call. If your school reached out to you and said, hey, we're running Tutor.com and we want you to attend to get more information, then they're probably a partner in it. And through the school, your student will get there. They can ask the school tech coordinator or the school teachers will know what their logins are. They have a student ID number, I think is their initial numbers, and then their passwords is their birthday. The initial passwords, if they haven't already gone in and changed it, it's their like 2 month, 2 day, and then 4 digits for the year. You can try that.
And for all of you who are on this call, we only sent out the invitation for this to the schools who've opted to participate so far. So if you received the invitation for your school, your campus does have access to Tutor.com. Any other questions? We tried it.
Hello.
Hi, Gary.
Hi. Yes. Besides the math fundamentals quizzes, are there any other quizzes or resources for like elementary students, like SSAT?
A great question. So we have a wide variety of live options that are available for elementary students, and they really tend to benefit more so from those tools. So they can log in and they'll have in the on-demand tutoring section the elementary category where they can go in and work with a tutor on their math or their science or their social studies, their writing, their reading, and the tutors can help them on all of those skills there. As far as the practice quizzes, those and the ELA quizzes would be the ones to go to for them.
Thank you.
And then I did see the section in the chat as well from Taryn Peng that we tried it earlier today and got transferred, and it happened 3 times, so we gave up. So when it's something where the student is being transferred 3 times, I would want if you could just direct message myself or Charles what the subject was and what the question was. Each tutor is hired for a specific subject. So when you go in with a Algebra 1 tutor, that's an Algebra 1 tutor, not a math generalist tutor. So it could be the question that the student is working on is something that we would cover in another one of our categories. And so we can send you to that specific subject to get help with that material. But I'd be happy to sort that through with you. And then from my I got a email from my son's high school, but not my other son's intermediate school. Can I contact the school to see if they participate with Tutor.com? So the intermediate school will be participating with Tutor.com no matter what. The high school might just have taken more initiative to send out information about Tutor.com. Every school is taking a slightly different approach, but your student will have access.
Yeah, and I just want to add last year we started with all of the middle and intermediate schools, and so they may not be actively sending things out to their students, but they all have access already from last year. That was our initial rollout. So yeah, the school might not be actively promoting it, but they do have access.
And they'll always access it the same way. So whether it's a student in an elementary school, middle school, or high school, they'll all go in through Clever. If you go to the Tutor.com website, that won't give you the access that you get at no cost through the Department of Education. Any max hours a month to have the tutor per student? Any fees? It's a great question. So there is not. So students can come in as often as they would like. We find that some students will come in a couple of times a semester to get major works checked. We find other students who come in almost every day to get a little bit of help with their homework because it just makes them feel better about the work that they're turning in. And they can use it as often or as little as they would like. And there's no fees that are associated with that for your school or for your student. So you can feel comfortable letting them use it as often as they would like. And then as far as specific tutor availability as well, all of our tutors are on a rotating schedule. And so within Tutor.com, when they opt to schedule with a specific tutor, if they do have a favorite, they'll see their updated weekly schedule so that they can work with them. Does the tutoring cover trigonometry and chemistry? Yes, we cover both. So trigonometry you'll find under math as the topic and then trigonometry for the subject. And chemistry will be under science as the topic and then chemistry is the subject. What are the qualifications of the tutors? It's a great question. So it varies. The vast majority of our tutors already have their four-year degrees and are fingerprinted through the Department of Justice. We do, for those who are performing exceptionally well, make exceptions for those who have already completed 2 years within their college program and pass all of our subject exams and go through all of the same qualifications beyond there. And then they have ongoing coaching that they're getting as well to make sure that they're up to date on the material your students are learning. Are tutors able to assist with students under an IEP? Yes, with a kind of caveat. So our tutors are not going to be aware of your student's IEP. They're not going to have that much context about the learning environments that they are in. And so if they have something specific that they need help with that you could guide them through, that's great. And I would encourage you to sit with them depending on the student's specific need so that they can have the support that they need in the ways that they need it. But a lot of students with IEPs or, have been otherwise identified for intervention really like this program as well because the tutors don't know what their situation is and they have a little bit of that anonymous privacy there. And then if you're logged into Clever as a parent, you won't see the Tutor.com app. If you are logged in through your student's account, you should be able to search it in the apps there. And there's also an option to favorite it so that it'll appear at the top of the page. Yes, and then Taryn, thank you for reaching out to me. I'll put my email in the chat as well so I can look into that for you. Does tutoring also cover environmental science and computer science? Yes, we cover both. So computer science is going to be under computer skills. So they'll be able to find things like Microsoft Excel, Word, PowerPoint, but also for Java and C++ and coding that they may be doing as well. The Tutor.com classroom actually has a full code editor. And then environmental science will be under our traditional sciences category. So just to be cognizant of time, I'm going to go ahead and jump back into the presentation and there'll be other opportunities for questions as well, but please continue to put them in the chat. I really appreciate the discussion. So one of our big priorities here is making sure that we are looking at the outcomes that we can get for your students. This is a program that to many of us as adults sounds like a no-brainer resource. When we were in high school, how many of us would have loved to not be panicked late at night about our homework that we had to get turned in and maybe started a little bit late? but we really want to see these outcomes for your students too. And so we had the opportunity to do a few studies with our partners over the course of the last couple of years. And this is one of our more recent ones where we looked at student success, retroactively looking at the previous school year of their success that they were having for students who used Tutor.com versus for those who did not. So we got what is called a ESSA 2 in the education world, and that's the highest level of certification for a study that you can get in a backwards facing study. To do a forwards facing study, we would have to disqualify students from Tutor.com, and we haven't wanted to do that because it's a resource that all students can benefit from. So jumping right into what that looks like. So we saw that students who use Tutor.com, and this is a general population of students, had a higher spring semester GPA than students who did not use Tutor.com, and fewer D's and F's overall by 18%. So this is, again, looking at everybody in the schools. Some campuses will start to see where they have their, the high school, their AP kids, or in, intermediate school and elementary school, the kids who were traditionally excelling in the classroom lean towards Tutor.com because they're used to reaching out to resources that can make school a little bit easier for them. But we really want to make sure that all students are using this and benefiting from it. So we wanted to also look specifically at how this is supporting students who struggle more in the classroom and maybe have been identified for intervention or extra supports to make sure that they're passing their classes and doing so well. And so we actually saw those same gains for students, but more dramatically among students who were having trouble in the classroom. So a 0.22 percentage point gain in their GPA, which is a big deal, and 47% fewer D's and F's in their spring semester. And so we would love to get to see these sort of achievements for your students as well. So depending how frequently they come into Tutor.com, these will look more dramatic as well. And the thing that surprised us all when we got the information about the study back is that as students use Tutor.com more frequently, they were more likely to attend school. And it makes sense in retrospect that when students feel confident about their homework and they know that it makes sense to them, that they are going to feel better about going to class in case they get called on. And so we want to see your students really take advantage of Tutor.com this year and in the years beyond, so that they can feel better about their work. We want them to use this as a leapfrog resource. So if your students are stuck on their homework and they need a little bit of a boost, they can hop over to us. We'll help them through their problem. And then once they feel good and can work independently again, we want them to jump off and do so that they feel better about it overall. And so talking about now how we go about engaging your learners, this is a tool that to us, we talk about it like broccoli or a grain bowl. To us as adults, we know that this is something that we can eat and we're going to feel energized and we're going to be able to do the things that we want to do or go about our very busy day. But to a student, we see tutoring as adults kind of the same way. We know that getting help with our homework or tough assignments is going to help us. But for your students, they see tutoring maybe as, oh, I don't want to do that. And they see tutoring as this grain bowl and maybe pizza is TikTok and they'd rather reach for that. We really want to emphasize the importance of using tools like Tutor.com and all of the other educational resources that your schools are providing for your students as something that can benefit them in the long run so they feel really good about the work that they're doing. So we want to make sure that we are sharing that Tutor.com is for all ages. It's not just for your high school students and your middle school students. Elementary school students can really benefit as well. And it takes some of the stress out of homework time too. You can sit down with your elementary learner as they're going through Tutor.com if they are younger and still learning how their devices work, but they can also do it through our virtual program as well if they are older, and really familiarizing with them with Tutor.com. Their school might be talking about it with them already, or they might want you to do so at home. And so you can sit with them, show them how it works so that they feel good about working on it independently. And then whether they're coming in for hands-on help or quick homework checks, they can benefit from that support. So even your independent learners can benefit from this too. We can all use someone checking over it, making sure things look good. Tutor.com is also a judgment-free zone. There's no such thing as a dumb question with us. Students get to decide what they share with the tutor. So if your student wants to go back and work on an earlier concept, maybe something that they learned last school year or the year before, they can do that. And the tutor's not going to say, oh, well, you should know this. No, we're going to make sure that we support them where they're at so they feel really good. They also have very easy access through Clever, so you can encourage them to favorite the Tutor.com app so they know where to go for help. That way, every time they log in, they're going to see it right at the top of the page. We can support them with all grade levels, and we do across Hawaii. Some of those younger learner sessions are actually my favorite, especially when it's something like phonics and they're sitting with the tutor and talking and sounding things out. It's really sweet to just hear them have those breakthroughs. We have fun, confetti and exciting things in the classroom to involve your students. We also have scaffolding support in here for all of those things that are taught in school, but maybe not very directly. Things like learning how to build healthy habits, time management, setting appropriate goals for their academics or otherwise. And that's all there for them too. And we have other resources available for you and your students as well. So we have a tutor.com/webinars page, and this is a collection of experts from our team talking about things like coming into the school system for the first time if you have kindergarten learners, and understanding that process, knowing what questions to ask during parent-teacher conferences and how to best support your student in the classroom, to AP topics where they can get test prep strategies. We had a recent webinar on AI and plagiarism that was very interesting that you can review as well. I know that's a hot topic right now for a lot of your students on campuses, and they are for all audiences. So for your students, for yourselves, and for school site staff as well. And many of them have taken advantage of that. We also have our AP and SAT prep advice, and all of that's on our Tutor.com YouTube channel. Charles actually sat down with us at the beginning of the year to talk about why Tutor.com was brought into the Hawaii program and how it can really support students. So you can look at that as well. That's up there. And then we also have college admissions and scholarship support for those of you with seniors in high school. They can connect to an on-demand college admissions and scholarships essays tutor. That's under our writing topic and then college admissions subject. And those are tutors who are looking over college admissions essays every day and can really help your student figure out how to set themselves apart. We also have the drop-off essay option for that as well, and any of those other, personal statements and pieces that they're submitting as well within that process. And we also want to end just by sharing success with you. This is a program that students have really benefited from so far. Between last year and this year, I believe we've had in the neighborhood of 7,000 sessions with your students. We would love to see your learners part of that fold so that they can really use this to feel better about the work that they're doing both in and out of the classroom this year and taking some of that academic stress off of their shoulders. So I'm going to go ahead and look back at the questions that we have in the chat as well. So how does our student set up an account through school? Charles, I saw that you answered that in the chat, but I'm going to answer it out loud for those of us joining on the recording. So you do not have to do anything to set up Tutor.com for your student. The school and the state has already gone through that process. So they'll see the Tutor.com app in Clever if they are eligible. And if you are not seeing Tutor.com, or if the campus, maybe one of your campus that your student's at has Tutor.com and another does not, you can talk with the school about setting that up. Schools can join on at no cost to them. Do tutors help teach them the same curriculum based on course standards in Hawaii? That's a great question. So we work with students across the US and across the globe. So it's not going and necessarily aligned to the specific state standards in Hawaii, but we make sure that our tutors are familiar with all of the types of teaching methods that your students may be receiving in the classroom. So if they're learning multiplication a specific way, that we're following that. And then would there be a short summary of my child weaknesses and improvements from when they started Tutor.com in case they'd want to know? So a little clarification on that. There's a version of something that we call early alerts that your students, teachers, and administrators can see. So say your student was struggling with the prerequisite knowledge and maybe is in a upper level class, but they're struggling with earlier material that the tutors can mark, or maybe the student isn't able to solve the problem on their own that they come in with at first. and they will mark that for the teacher and for the administrator. From the parent side, you won't see that, but your student will have their own personal progress report within their account, so you can see what they're working on if they pull that up with you, and that's just under their account details. Where do you get the Clever link? I believe Charles had put it at the beginning of the meeting, and so you'll see that there, and I'm sure we can repaste that for you as well.
Yep. I just
Are there-
added the tutor.com/Hawaii link where all of the, I think we're going to get to that, but it also has the Clever link on there.
Yes. And then are tutors from different countries? If so, are they able to communicate effectively with students? So we have a very small group of tutors who are from different countries just because we have people globally as well and in different time zones. We have a partner as well in Australia. So we want to make sure that we can support those students too. But all of them are able to communicate with students effectively. We want to make sure that that's ease for them is first and foremost. And then is Clever connected to Students Infinite Campus? Yes. So all of that is aligned there. And then Charles had put in the link. So the tutor.com/Hawaii page, there's the Clever link is on that page, but you can also find information. So there's some FAQs there for you of common questions that we've gotten from parents. And I really appreciated your questions today. A lot of them have been new for us. And so it's great to see that. And I really thank you for coming in and engaging in that discussion. And so you'll find those tools there. And then there's some other posters and information and how it works guides that you can share with your students so they know how to log in when they need that help. So are there any other questions before I show you what the platform looks like live? Okay, great. All right, so jumping in so you can see exactly what Tutor.com looks like here. So this is one of the teachers' accounts through the state. So you can see this is exactly what your student will see when they log in. So they'll be greeted with their name, Judy, here first on my screen. So this would say, welcome, Judy, and you would see all of your classes here. So when we go to connect with a tutor now, that's how you're going to connect with a real person to help with their homework. They are going to select their topic and their subject. So I heard computer skills earlier. So you'll see computer skills and programming and all of the options that they have for that. If they were coming in, I heard chemistry earlier as well. So they can come to science and then come down to chemistry. And you can see they have quite a few options there. They're not limited by the grade that they're in or the campus that they're at. They'll be able to access all of the available subjects. And then for those of you with elementary grade students, we break it up into two categories because the needs of your students are going to be a little bit different. So we have K through 2 and then 3 through 6. And then you can, for the K through 2 students, you sitting with them is really going to help them in this process. A lot of students are pretty digitally savvy now, but can still appreciate a helping hand from a parent or guardian and select that with them. And so they can come in and do this at any point. And then for writing, if they were doing that college admissions writing, they would find it right here. So once they've done that, they're going to select the class that they're in from this list. And this is what allows their teacher to best support them. And then they can work with a tutor in one of two ways. So they can either text back and forth with them all within the online classroom. There's no privacy information shared, or use the chat with voice where they're talking just like we are now, but with no camera. And then they'll put their question down below. So this can be for a college admissions thing, saying I'm working on Common App topic 1, and then they can upload their work. If it's for a math problem, they can put the concept that they're working on, just that they're stuck, or a specific problem, and then it's going to connect them with a real person to walk them through that in about a minute or less. We also have the honor code here. We do like to remind students, high school students are pretty good about it, but some of the younger students, that because these are all real people, we want to make sure that we are talking to the tutors in the same way that we would talk to our parent or to a teacher as well. but that's all there for them. And then if they wanted to schedule a session, this is a great option as well. For older students, they can see a little bit about the tutors here. You can see some of their qualifications here. So we have a Bachelor's of Electrical Engineering from UT El Paso, and you can see what that's like. They have the option to put that in, and then they can schedule a session with that tutor, and they can sort by subject specific as well. So if I wanted to work on my elementary reading, I can see elementary reading tutors and then reviews from real students within the program. And this tutor's online now. So it's a great tool to get to work with them. The writing reviews over here for any of your students doing the test prep, maybe SAT or ACT or even the AP, those tools are here. And this is, again, free within the Hawaii program to your students as covered by the state. And then if you want to go over the progress report with your student and see if they're using Tutor.com, that would be done by coming to my account here and then clicking on the progress report. This is a teacher's program who has not had sessions, but if your student has done work on Tutor.com, you would see their work appear here. And this is going to be visible within your student's account. You will not have a parent account. So that's what the Tutor.com program is. I would love for all of you to try this with your student alongside them. It's a really great tool that they can utilize. I've had the pleasure to be with the Tutor.com team for the last 2 years now and seeing so many students have their light bulb moments, and we're excited to get to share that with your students as well. Thank you.